So this idea that the growth in senior leaders for women has come in these human areas, we'll call it, so human resources and all their derivations, is that driven by the view that women as a gender or a stereotype are more empathetic and better at the soft skills, or does it come from the idea that those kinds of roles have greater flexibility in your experience?
There's a number of things around that are at play in the encouragement of women into certain roles. So the human fields that you're talking about, we would consider corporate functions or support roles. So this is generally human resources, marketing, legal, finance, any of the corporate services, not the line roles or the functional roles, where I have P&L responsibility or I'm running a whole function or a whole division. So that's the two distinctions in terms of career paths, if you were to be so sort of blunt. And there is some evidence to suggest that due to, all the things we've talked about, societal bias, whether it's personal preference, whether it's assumptions, whether it's systemic within the organization, that women are either choosing or are encouraged to go down the support roles, and men are more encouraged to go down the line roles. And so we've got examples of Telstra is a large organisation here in Australia, where they were looking at why do they have this big gap of men and women in leadership roles, and they went right down to their entry level situations. So they looked at their graduate intake and realised that they were supporting or promoting more women into those support service roles and more men into the management roles. And so straight away, they changed the way they did their graduate rotations. They would put the males into EA support roles, into marketing roles, all that kind of stuff, to make sure that the system wasn't part of that choice. Because we don't know how much of it is my personal preference and how much of it is because I actually haven't experienced the other. I haven't been invited in or encouraged to go in, and this seems to be a natural fit for me.
And does that sort of speak to Louise's point about creating this culture, a value set, if you will, that says this is the way we do business, and recognizing that the way we've done business in the past has started to have these results, as opposed to just getting in and focusing in on the results or specific initiatives to.
Yeah, so I always look at this as a multi-layered approach, and I sit in a very specific space in this conversation. So Louise comes from the organizational cultural lens. Gina adds perspective here around the societal lens and what she's seeing, across industries and stuff like that. For me, I'm really interested in the individual level. What happens human to human, conversation to conversation, and how does the policies you put in place impact the culture that you're living within and the society that you come from, and how does all that roll up to impact the choices you make on a day-to-day basis as an individual person. So for me, I'm really keen to encourage conversation, to understand, for people to individually understand why do I not speak up in a meeting if I'm a female? What is it about the gendered communication dynamics that are holding me back? Because that's how I've been conditioned because of society. So, for example, we know that women are typically conditioned through their communication to be humble, helpful, to downplay, to minimize their status and elevate other people up as a way to save face and build community and connection. Men, on the other hand, are typically socialize in their communication choices to elevate themselves. It's a competition, it's a one-upmanship, it's about taking up space. They're happy to wrestle with ideas and have ritual debate. Women are not as happy to have that ritual debate. They're more into ritual apologies. So straight away, the conditioning of society, the way it's reinforced in our cultures, the way it's supported or not by our policies, have a huge part to play in what we do on a daily basis as an individual.